Hello, and welcome back to Running the Table, the podcast where we talk about everything on the table in the world of sports. And today we've got another surprise move seemingly out of nowhere with the trade of Davante Adams after just when it seemed that the Green Bay Packers had it all under control, signing Aaron Rodgers to the extension and franchise tagging Davante Adams. All of a sudden, boom, Davante says that he is not going to play under the franchise tag. The Packers seemingly have no choice. Well, seemingly have no choice, but we'll get into some of that later, other than to ship him to Las Vegas, in which they get back some draft capital. But Drew, you ready to run this?
Unfortunately, this was not a episode that I wanted to run, but unfortunately, yeah, let's run it.
Here we are nonetheless. So today we get the announcement that Davante Adams has been dealt to the Las Vegas Raiders, with the return being the first two picks that the Raiders had in this upcoming draft, being their first round pick, which is 22nd overall, and their second round pick, which was 53rd overall. And as soon as he was traded, he was immediately signed to a 5-year, $141.25 million extension, which means he's going to be there long term. So
Not
Drew,
happy.
Where
Not a happy camper.
Where do you sit in all of this in terms of how things went down and how it sort of came to be?
Well, I mean, clearly I'm upset. This was not something that I wanted to do, period. So I was sitting in Gainbridge Fieldhouse watching the absolutely insane basketball game that was Kentucky and St. Peter's. Go St. Peter's. We shocked the world. More on that in our
we will cover that
in a future time, but today is not that day. And a bombshell drops, and clearly just got back from that. It's super late in the morning. My voice is gone, shot,
and yet here we are.
And yet here we are, because I have to talk about my favorite player on my favorite team, who is no longer on that team. So Davante Adams, he received a 5-year, $141.25 million extension with the Raiders, which he deserved every penny of. He's the best receiver in the league by far, bar none. That makes him the highest paid, tops of DeAndre Hopkins' contract of roughly around $27 million per year. And it sucks. I mean, for the Raiders, on one hand, the Raiders have just added the best receiver in the league, and Derek Carr reunites with the college teammate.
Surprisingly more scary than they were at this time last year by a long shot.
Yeah, they had Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller to throw to, but now you add Davante Adams, perennial all-proer, and that offense gets a lot scarier. So, I mean, the AFC arms race is on full blast. Every one of those four teams is just pulling different things out of the hat that I didn't think were even possible to make those teams better. So it's going to be insane. I think it was only a matter of time. It was only a matter of time before the Raiders threw their hat into the ring, and before they made the trade for Davante around Adams.
The edge, but
I mean, earlier today they signed Chandler Jones after trading Yannick Ngakoue to the Colts for Rock Ya-Sin. So you add those two guys for the defense, and now you add a cornerstone of your franchise for the offense. And the AFC West, you thought it was good, just got a little bit better.
What more could they possibly do? I'd be astonished if we see another AFC West blockbuster, because it just seems like there's so few guys left. Which one of those four teams could possibly stand to sign somebody else to improve things more, other than maybe if we see the Chiefs make a wild move?
Yeah, I'll argue, it's not if, I think it's when. These teams are going to keep adding until they can't add anymore. Yeah. And not being able to add anymore, that's not possible. These teams always find a way, especially with how crafty some of these GMs are. So
yeah, no kidding.
But enough about the Raiders. I am a Packers fan. I am a sad Packers fan. Let's look at
how this affects the Packers going forward, because it certainly puts them in an interesting situation, some predicament, some things it sort of helps with, but not particularly.
I mean, okay. We have no wide receivers other than Alan Lazard and
In
Randall
terms of
Cobb.
wide receivers, we have
none. We have absolutely nobody else. I mean, we have Amari Rodgers, who's a rookie, but he wasn't very good. Randall Cobb
didn't see
is
much out of him.
older than he once was, and Alan Lazard, we got him back on a second round tender, which is good, but Lazard isn't going to cut it as the wide receiver one. So now the Packers have to do something that they don't usually do: go in the free agent market or draft a wide receiver in the first round. No, they couldn't, but they have.
It'd be kind of funny if they managed to mess that up now.
Oh my God,
with 2 first-round picks and 0 really truly relevant wide receivers. They're like,
Green Bay has 4 picks inside the top 100. If they do not use one of those on a wide receiver, I will go absolutely bonkers. I actually think we have like 5 in the top 100. I don't even.
Yeah, you might have a third one in that.
I'm pretty sure we have a third one, like a third round pick somewhere.
Yeah.
But I mean, we just got 2, so you better add a wide receiver or 2 with one of them.
Yeah, you would hope.
And I mean, back to going, into free agency, that the Adams trade cleared up $20 million because the franchise tag cost
open some doors,
$18.6 million.
Yeah.
So yeah, with a little bit more financial things, the Packers do have room to add some more pieces. Like Rasul Douglas was kind of the corresponding move. They had been in talks for a little bit, and it seems like Rasul Douglas back to Green Bay is kind of a done deal, which I love. Rasul Douglas was an absolute dog, was an absolute stud in the second half of the season for the Packers last year. And as far as our defense goes, I think our defense is pretty set with extending Preston Smith and re-signing Devondre Campbell. I think our defense is absolutely set. And with Rodgers, I mean, that offense, just talking about that offense first, and then we'll talk about Aaron Rodgers. That offense, I think you just need a few quality wide receivers, a few more quality wide receivers, and you're set, because they still have some really good things.
Outside of Davante Adams, like Rodgers has never seemingly had a whole lot to work with, and still has been very successful year in and year out.
Yeah,
so, I mean, you don't need to I feel like you don't need to add a ton across the table to give Rodgers a lineup that he can work with and still perform with. But you gotta give him something.
Well, let's look at the positives, though. They still have a pretty solid offensive line, and they have one of the best running back tandems on the ground with Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon, one of the best 1-2 punches. So you still have some good things. You need a tight end, you need a few more wide receivers, but we have the money to do that. It would help to have
someone outside of Robert Tonyan, because especially you don't exactly know how he's going to be recovering.
He's a free agent.
He's also a free agent. Okay, so if they don't even resign him, then they need somebody flat out to begin with.
So, I mean, as far as the options in the free agent market left, not very flattering. I mean, your top options are names like Jarvis Landry, Julio Jones, Juju Smith-Schuster, Odell Beckham Jr. and his one good knee, Will Fuller and his one good anything, a older
and his
T.Y.
one good
Hilton.
Game a year.
Yeah, an older T.Y. Hilton. I mean, now we're just kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel.
I could see Aaron Rodgers making a little bit of noise with a sort of small resurgence of Julio Jones, though.
No, I mean, I agree. That would be nice. I mean, Aaron Rodgers being as good as he is, he has been able to make receivers in the past look good.
Julio look better than he is at his age.
Okay, but does Green Bay there's a caveat to that. For me as a Packers fan, they
wouldn't have to pay him very much.
And there it is, because I would like us to go get a receiver in free agency. The little asterisk is, how much do we pay him? Because like when I talk with other Packers fans, it's like, all right, so what's our next move? Go get a receiver. Cool. Who? Julio Jones or Jarvis Landry. Cool. How much do we pay him? And that's always my follow-up question. And if it's not like relatively team friendly, then I say,
yes, I mean, here's the thing, and you would love to say, okay, the simple solution is just go see what you get in those first 2 rounds of the draft. But
we don't exactly have the money to throw around.
Will the Packers do it, though, in terms of making the most out of the draft and seeing what they can do with young, talented guys?
Yes,
because we've seen this before when it's the logical decision and they haven't made it. So even though it seems even more logical now, where does that switch finally flip? Like, I guess we got to do it now.
But enough about like what we got to do. Let's talk about our quarterback. because everybody was saying,
There was a whole saga around that before all this.
oh, yes, with Aaron Rodgers, if Davante Adams leaves, Aaron's going to be pissed. And you'd think that. However, Aaron knew the whole time that Davante Adams was probably not coming back, that Davante Adams was probably going to be traded somewhere else. And still, even with that, signed his extension with Green Bay. So, what does that tell you about Aaron?
I mean, I guess to me it says that he wants to be there and try to make that situation work. And I think he's kind of putting the ball on the court of the organization and saying, here, I'm like, this is in your hands. Don't mess it up. Because they have
great.
the opportunity to do a little bit of retooling with the draft capital, with the cap space that they do have, to make some moves, re-sign some of the guys that they might have lost if that didn't happen, and try to give him some weapons. But the thing is he alone can't go sign those guys. That's got to be left up to that upper level, those management guys. But I think he's trying to give them one final shot of, here, I'm here. I'm trying to finish my career here and be a Packer for life. And he's given them one final go around, but we'll see if they make the most of it.
Yeah, I hope they can make something happen. But yeah, I think the long story short is Vegas now has the best receiver in football, signed him to a shiny new extension, making him the highest paid ever. Derek Carr and Davante Adams, Fresno State teammates, they come back. That Vegas Raiders offense is looking scary. That entire AFC West in general is looking
terrifying.
Very, very terrifying. And they're just going to keep adding and adding and adding until they can't anymore. Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers is now without his best target, and very little to no wide receivers are there. The pieces are there around him other than wide receiver, like a defense, offensive line, running back. Green Bay has that. But now they have $20 million more to spend on wide receivers, and they have an extra first and second round pick to spend if they want to in the draft. Who knows what they'll do? TBD.
Gotta come up with something. But yeah, that looks like that'll probably be all from us today. March Madness is officially in full swing. We will be covering every step of that.
I can't wait for that. That'll be fun.
Oh yes, it's already been off to such a hot start. There's been plenty of NFL free agency going on, and as you can tell, we'll continue covering that as it comes. There'll be plenty more from us here in these next couple of weeks. We're looking at an exciting month of March and April. But for right now, like and subscribe for more Running the Table content. And until then, we out. Peace.